Islam is Britain's most practiced religion, and Britain is no longer a Christian country. We hear all sorts of rubbish about this particular news story whenever it comes up, but I'm going to go through all of the facts so you understand them completely. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this channel. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all of my videos as soon as they are released. So we hear this all the time, don't we? Is Mohammed Britain's most popular boy's name? Is Islam the most practiced religion in the United Kingdom? Is Britain still a Christian country? Well, look, I want to just set to one side one very obvious thing. Britain is not technically a democracy or even a constitutional monarchy. It's technically a theocracy. And that's because there is an established church. The head of the church is the head of the country, the king. But leave that constitutional point to one side and let's start talking about the Islamification of Britain and the de-Christianisation of Britain, because I think actually the two things are important to be taken together. So first of all, only 46% of British people now say that they are Christian. That's from the last census, which I didn't participate in. It's illegal not to participate in the census, but I don't care. I don't do it because I don't want the government to know everything about me. Anyway, I wouldn't encourage you to commit crime. But in Wales, the decline in Christianity was at its biggest. It was down 14%. And overall in the country, it's gone down from 59% to that just below 50% figure that we've got now to 46%. And that is worrying. Now, first of all, it's important to bear in mind that the majority of the country are not Muslims. That's not why Islam is the most practiced religion in the United Kingdom. In fact, the population, the Muslim population, is up a couple of percent to 6.5%, which is 3.9 million people. But critically, they are regular worshippers. So whereas only about 625,000 people who are Church of England bother going to church on a regular basis, a very high percentage of Muslims go to mosque on a regular basis. And why is that important? Because what it means is that the culture of the country can change even if there is not a majority of people who come to the country practicing a different faith. If everybody who was nominally a Christian, even though there's a minority, if everybody who was a nominal Christian actually went to church and stood up for the religion on a regular basis, then it wouldn't matter. So what you actually have now, in my view, is this, and I'm relatively certain, having looked at the figures, I'm right. I think Islam is the most practiced religion. I think potentially Catholicism is second, although it's not a religion, it's a denomination of the Christian faith. And I think the Church of England is third. Now look, let's talk about the name Mohammed. Is it the most popular boy's name in the United Kingdom? Well, there's a couple of caveats that are really important about this. Point number one, there is no singular spelling of Mohammed. So, obviously, if you were to, I'll give you an example. The name Harold, Harry, or Harrison all count as three different names. So, M-U Hamid, M-O Hamid, Hamid with two M's in the middle and one M with the middle, E, A's, or D's all count for different names, according to the list, because obviously they don't group together different spellings of the same name. They just go for the names as registered on the birth certificates. And so, if you put all the different spellings of Mohammed together, then it would be the most popular boy's name in the United Kingdom in terms of births. Now, there is a caveat that people are going to say to me, which is, yes, but a lot of Muslim families call all their kids Mohammed and then use the name, you know, Sheriff or Azif or whatever in everyday use. And that is fair enough. Look, let me tell you why I'm concerned about this and why I'm concerned about immigration. It's not because I dislike my Muslim neighbours, it's because of the culture of the country. We live in a world where we've been told about multiculturalism. We've been told that we live in almost a post-cultural world where everybody can rub along really, really well together. I don't believe that. I believe that in terms of culture, there has to be a dominant culture, and then there'll be other cultures which are subcultures. You might find that with, say, the predominant culture in London was the Judeo-Christian culture, but then there was a subculture of gay culture or black culture or Indian culture or whatever. But actually, if what you are doing is what's going on now in Britain, which is that we no longer stand for our culture, but somebody else comes to the country vociferously advocating theirs, then there is an inevitable process, isn't there, in which the indigenous culture is eradicated in favour of the new culture. Now, that doesn't mean that the people bringing that culture to Britain are deliberately trying to take over your country, but because you are handing it to them by walking away from your own culture, that is the end result. It's really interesting, actually. Vladimir Putin, somebody that I genuinely do not like, he's no more a Russian Orthodox than I am. But he genuinely believes that if you don't stand up for the culture of your own country, it will be replaced by a different culture. And I think we have deliberately encouraged this in many respects in Britain. Because look at multiculturalism. When David Starkey talks about the tribal areas, right, he's not trying to talk about the colour of people's skin, but what happens is you get these particular areas, and you see it in Burnley and Bradford, Blackburn and Birmingham, all the bees. You tend to find that what happens is it's not a group of people are moving from Pakistan. It's one village in Pakistan is being transplanted into, say, Blackburn. And slowly but surely, that area is effectively ethnically cleansed. So there's only people from that particular village that live there. So suddenly, that's why you go to a place like Blackburn, and part of it does feel like it is. It doesn't feel like it's Pakistan, because obviously the weather is very, very different. But it certainly feels like it's Pakistani owned and dominated and ruled. And of course, the policing, as we know, operates differently. In many respects, the democratic system operates differently, where the local councillors will be the most senior people at the mosque, rather than people who are political leaders in their own right. I say that we need to stop denying that this is the case. And I think we need to start saying that people need to come to Britain in order to be British. It's perfectly possible to remain a Muslim and integrate within Britain. But what we're doing now under this multicultural experiment is we are not creating multicultural areas. We are creating tribal areas. There will be a white area, there will be an Asian area, there will be a black area. And that is, in my view, an incredibly damaging thing to do. If you think that integration is taking place in this country, you're very wrong. What is happening is not integration, but accommodation, where the people that come to the country who do not have any time for the country, who do not believe in the country, who do not support the religion, values or traditions of the country, they will be the people who are considered the more important and should be venerated, perhaps in the same way as the white community were venerated in apartheid South Africa. And that's why we need to start worrying about the fact that we are not a Christian country anymore. And that is the reason we need to worry about the fact that there are more Muslims practicing in Britain than there are Christians. We will not create the sort of society that people say, where there's a bit of Islam, there's a bit of Christianity, there's a bit of whatever. People like to be around their own kind, which is why when you have uncontrolled immigration to Britain, you don't end up with a Pakistani on every street. You don't end up with a Caribbean guy on every street. You end up with tribal areas where they are effectively mono-religious or mono-ethnic. And that, of course, is what causes many of the problems that we see here today in Britain. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe. Until next time, goodbye.